za bardzo ciekawą prezentację. Myślę, że to wiele ciekawych rozwiązań, które po części mogą być inspirujące również dla nas, po części takie rozwiązania również wprowadzamy w Polsce. Myślę, takie systemowe podejście do kwestii bezpieczeństwa uczniów w internecie to jest coś, nad czym obecnie pracujemy wspólnie z Centrum Metodycznym Pomocy Psychologiczno-Pedagogicznej. Fundacja Dziecięcia przygotowała poradnik dla szkół dotyczący właśnie takiego systemowego podejścia do kwestii bezpieczeństwa dzieci w internecie. Ten poradnik znajdziecie Państwo w materiałach. On w przyszłym tygodniu będzie dystrybuowany za pośrednictwem kuratoriów do wszystkich szkół gimnazjalnych w Polsce i znajdziecie w nim Państwo właśnie rozwiązania dotyczące takich różnych aspektów związanych z bezpieczeństwem dzieci w internecie i to się składa na takie właśnie systemowe działania szkoły w tym zakresie. Jeden z tekstów w tym poradniku to jest tekst.
That handbook has been written by Dariusz Stachecki, who's our next speaker. This text, as well as the presentation that we will be hearing in a moment, is about the standards of internet safety in school IT structures. As Mr. Czernohorski mentioned, and as already has been said by a number of speakers, this is also one of the key components guaranteeing or giving safety to students online. Dariusz Stachecki teaches at a junior high school in Nowy Tomyśl, Western Poland. He's an experienced IT teacher and an organizer of national conferences for School Computer Network Administrator, CASC, a conference held in the city of Nowy Tomyśl, a conference that's very well known in the industry. And now it's over to Mr. Stachecki.
Good afternoon. My name is Dariusz Stachecki. I work for a Nowy Tomyśl Junior High. I'm the guy who's responsible for IT and didactics, information technology in the context of the school. And standards may be an exaggeration a bit, but postulates or reflections on the functioning of such school IT structures will be the topic of my discussion. I would like to share with you some of my observations that I have gathered over the years of my work as a school teacher, and also as a result of experience exchange with other teachers. I've drawn some conclusions. Of course, I will not be able to offer you a response to many of the questions, but perhaps it is the questions that I would like to pose instead. As it has been said on many occasions here, it is the school that is responsible for school safety. To be able to speak about any projects, the functioning of the foundation and guidelines, that's one thing, but it is the children who come to our school, it is the parent that sends the kids to our school, and all of these stakeholders should be safe. A student who uses information technology, the teacher who delivers the class or conducts the class, the parent who sent the kid to school, and school as such, school as an institution. All of us should be safe. I'm not going to speak about computers as such, but of a certain complex internet structure, or IT rather, structure in schools. Some schools are more technologically IT advanced, some less. But there are some places in school where computers are used to work, or electronic devices are used to work, also with access to the internet. A contemporary school is not just an internet, or rather an IT room. It used to be so that there was an IT workshop, a kind of a dedicated room for IT classes, and sometimes this class was also used for other subjects, sometimes physics or sometimes foreign languages. The situation today is very different. A computer workshop plays certain functions, but there are also internet centers for multimedia information in schools that were commonly usually installed in school libraries. And these have also changed its character now. The services that they provide, meaning the services provided by libraries now, is no longer just a book, a paper book, but it's also contact with a dynamic live information, multimedia, and content that we would like to also have control over. Computers in the common room in schools also means that it's but it also means mobile internet workshops, providing access to knowledge and to information for students that should be organized in a safe manner. Another issue is computers in administration and computers for teachers. It's no longer a rare case, particularly after the decision of the Minister of National Education, which was made in July. I'm talking about the introduction of the so-called electronic student books, where all the grades are kept of the students, where all the marks are entered by the teachers. Such electronic books, student books, mean that the level of security should be even higher, that this access to information should be appropriately filtered, and access to personal data, including data on the progress of students or on the attendance, that all of this data was subject to controlled access to information. This also means the PCs or the laptops on not just the desks of the school accountants, the superintendent, so on and so forth, but also on the tables of teachers, where there are information stored that should not be open to just anybody. Having visited many schools, I myself had the opportunity to purely incidentally have access to documents that I should not have access to as a guest. But all I had to do was open up the internet. I logged into a wireless network without no password, and I could easily, for example, read opinions about a student I didn't know. This is not only dangerous, but unacceptable. I don't think that this is a situation that could be accepted by anybody, either the student or the principal of the school. On this picture, I tried to show you what the structure of a computer network looked like in a school. Of course, depending on the character of the school, the network can look differently. Not to make this entirely abstract, I have given you a presentation of the structure that we have in my school. We have 3 dedicated IT studios. We also have the information centers. We have special terminals to text access. We also have workstations for teachers. We have also mobile stations, and in recent times, in every single classroom, there is a computer, a PC, with full internet access and to the intranet of the school. The main issue here is the issue of the safety policy, and for that reason I will try to address you in the broadest manner possible. We're not only talking about safety online, we also need to address some important questions, such as how are we to secure safety in our own school? And the second question that perhaps I should ask at the end is that who should be responsible for that? Who should do this? We have So far, we do not have any legal provisions that would stipulate that it is the teacher who's responsible for the access or providing access to content. But, okay, so who is supposed to prepare these didactic teaching materials in such a way that we can safely use different types of electronic materials? And something which is quite ubiquitous in Europe, who is to control the access and provision of educational content via the internet? We observe more and more often that such materials are no longer provided or delivered in the form of CDs, but, for example, upon or having paid a certain subscription, the materials are delivered online. We have many such portals in Poland, such as nauczyciel.pl, meaning teacher.pl. This policy, the safety policy, should contain or touch upon certain key areas. First of all, optimum use of hardware. If the hardware is not used in a safe way, then it will not work, guaranteeing reliability. This is something that is often overlooked. What does reliability mean? In any company, if computers stop working, then the company cannot function any longer. Imagine we have a big shopping mall and all of a sudden all the computers go down. Every single hour of this blackout, if you will, or this breakdown can be measured in terms of money lost. Similar is the case with schools. If the system doesn't function and we only have access to student grades, for example, via electronic student books, then the whole system fails. If during a geography class we want to show students by means of a software what a particular continent looks like from a satellite shot, or by means of a satellite shot, and the internet goes down, then our whole class is gone. So it's all a question of securing all of these factors that make sure that the use of equipment is safe and optimum. Then physical and moral participation of students. And one thought that has occurred to me from the very beginning, and that's true that this is our superior goal, that the child has to feel safe online. But I have to tell you that it is often the children who are the initiators of this risk, of this danger or threat. Some students function in such a way or act in such a way, or they want to discredit the work of the teacher. That, for example, being a child, I know that the teacher should protect me against indecent content, but look at this, I've been able to break the protection devices and get to that content, so the teacher has failed. It's recently been said that the only safe computer is a computer that is off, although some people say that it's even possible to get into a computer even when it's off. The postulates of a safe infrastructure or IT structure, an appropriately planned and constructed network is one that isolates children effectively from the didactic network. In other words, students cannot have any physical access to documents that they should not see. Children, for example, cannot have access to accounting documents or documents that were developed by the school counselor. I mean, it's possible to have that isolation by means of a number of different methods, for example, virtual networks or special software, etc., etc. Secondly, children cannot work at computers that are dedicated to teachers. That's true, but sometimes we have to do something fast, and we as teachers say, here's my computer, use it quick, because we need to have this printed as fast as possible. I've made this test. I've devised this entrapment or provocation. There were 17 workstations in class, and I had 17 students sit there. And I said to them, can you guys help me out? This is just the beginning of the year. Nothing is happening the way it should be. Can you help me upgrade the antivirus program? And I've opened up the special account saying that this is the admin's account. And I told them that because of this account, you have access to the system. You can uninstall the entire virus or antivirus software. I'm going to be doing something on the server, and then when I tell you go ahead, I'll ask you to go ahead and install the new virus program. But a number of students decided to also uninstall the program for filtering the content. I found that strange, so I've decided to repeat the experiment, and I did it in the second class, and the result was very much similar. This time it was 11 students out of 17 who at the same time tried to uninstall the program for filtering content. Of course, there were additional security devices or firewalls, and instead of working on the server as I told them that I would be, I was observing them. And please believe me when I say that when a student wants, a student will try, and the older the student and the more eager to prove his or her computer literacy, they will try to do something with the computer that is absolutely undesired by teachers. We'll never have a situation in which we, as the generation of digital migrants, will we ever be able to compare ourselves to the digital residents, those who were born, or natives, those who were born with a mouse in their hand. For them, it will be an absolutely natural means of communication. If somebody says to them that computers can be so dangerous, why don't we have computers out of schools, right? This could be a bit perverse, though, because we can no longer teach without computers. If we want to be authentic, if we want to be credible, we have to use the same channels of communication that are used by students. We cannot teach, we cannot educate without applying modern technology or trying to pretend that there is no such technology. For the present generation, there is no distinction between the virtual world and the real world. It's a single world, only that it's composed of different elements and which are realized in different ways. This is the way it is, and we have to take it. Now, consequences, all of these elements that we're talking about here, they have to be precisely defined by means of a set of rules. We say that we are the organizers of teaching here, we teach, and students have to comply with the rules. Or they have to ask for a certain consensus, they have to comply with the rules, and these rules have to be systematically adhered to without any exceptions, because if there are any exceptions, the exceptions lead to more exceptions. So, keeping in mind, of course, that the data stored in these systems is confidential data. One more obvious thing, every single computer has to have antivirus software. Unfortunately, that's not the case. This summer vacation, I had the opportunity to travel around some schools. And trust me when I say I have not found a single computer that would not be infected. And that's a huge danger. Having Trojan horses, different types of threats and viruses and worms that I could be talking about for hours on end here. First of all, the antivirus software is in, it has to be updated. If the signatures are not up to date, the program no longer functions, no longer works. Another suggestion is that there should be a system of centrally administering antivirus systems. Imagine a situation, we have 200 computers in a school plus 2 internet connections, and every single day these computers are downloading the most current signatures. We know that when downloading these new signatures, the computers are pretty much useless. There are systems, however, and by the way, schools are now seen as partners now. that the prices of these products are affordable with a central administering system, when the administrator knows which of the computers are under threat, which have had a virus, and which are downloading new signatures. If half of our computers in the network are infected, then forget about any safety, because worms will be going through holes in anyway. Electronic mail in school, as in any other institution, should be given or should be accessible only to authorized personnel. There should also be a set of rules, some kind of a document determining the rules. My favorite example, I once met a situation in a school where email was received from little Johnny from grade 4 because he had IT. He had an IT class once every week or something, and all the correspondence with the parents and with all the authorities and with everybody else would get in the hands of little Johnny, because little Johnny was more computer literate. It turned out that the principal of the school could not really receive mails. I know you find it funny, but it was a fact. It was the fact of life. Sometimes we encounter things that it's really, really hopeless. Let's have respect for ourselves. If we represent an institution, and the school is an institution, a serious institution, I dare say, why do we send emails from school with IT funny Jenny hot lips at whatever.pl, and this is the signature of the headmaster? I mean, come on. This is something that we should remember. An email address is not just an email address. It's not just anything. It's not just about circulation of documents. It also gives or gives a perception of our image, or also correspondence with parents. If we have a system in place of an electronic student book, grade book, then this correspondence, of course, is facilitated. It's made easier, but we need to ensure certain standards related to providing access by means of coded or ciphered connections in line with the legal provisions pursuant to the law on data protection. An electronic student book, an electronic grade book or mark book, is an important document, is not just a gadget that, for example, if something's been sent by mail, we ask for this to be sent again by fax. Times have changed. Now, security devices against indecent content. Such devices have to be in place, no doubt. But we need to also remember that on the one hand, the effectiveness of these instruments is important, but so is prevention. We need to speak to children, to students, how they should behave whenever they come across undesired content. A filtering program, a filtering software will never be 100% effective. I be making a mistake, but 160 addresses a day. There are 160 new addresses a day that can be dangerous, default or redirecting. But that's one thing. But this policy should also be wisely delivered. It's a question of repeating or rebearing anew. If you put in a fence on the playground, then nothing is going to happen for some time. But after a while, people are going to become curious and want to look what's behind that fence. If there is content that we see as undesired, then this content will be or that if we see a content that is undesired, the student will get to the content sooner or later. So we need to give more information than just say that this content is undesired. In school, we should do all we can to try and service such situations. First of all, prevent them from happening, and if they do happen, figure out what to do wisely so that the reactions of the students are vented. Another issue that I'd like to touch upon is the safety of school internet services. Responsibility for the content, this is something very important. I know many services which are administered by young people, and unfortunately, or fortunately, they use CMS type of software. In other words, software which are generic text organizers. The system is there, only that it's filled with the content by the users, and the systems of text management are such that anybody can add in their comments. Freedom of speech, beautiful thing. But we need to remember, too, that this is our visit card, that this is we cannot just afford any comment. I myself encountered a case when we had this nice competition running that was very popular among students. It was, or somebody had to, or the students had to come up with some kind of a short poem about the school. We did this in cooperation with the local media. There were certain prizes for that. Kind of a cool competition, cool prize. And it turned out that the students decided to have fun with that. They wrote a poem that was not exactly decent, and they signed it with the name of their colleague. If the system was not unwatched, then the poem would be immediately published. But first, the text had to be accepted on the internet. But I went a step further. I checked what IP address this text was sent from. I knew this IP address. It was an internet cafe in the very same housing district. All I had to do was call up the owner of the internet cafe with information about the computer and the time when this poem was sent. I quickly learned who was sitting at that computer. I invited the students, when I found out what their identity was, to come and see me, and I talked to them. And after this public announcement, as a result of this, that such contents is traced, that this was not a very great joke, because it was a type of cyber violence. No longer did we have such cases in the school. In other words, the students found out that such content is watched for. So on the one hand, transparency. If we reveal that we are tracing such type of content, then we need to control these contents. It's not that we find this type of content present and then we let it be published, uploaded. And also remember to go this one step forward, as I did, this one step further, as I did, in case of trying to find out the identity of these students. School forums. This is the Achilles heel of schools. It's a great therapeutic tool, but one that also entails many, many threats. In our school, the practice was such that we went through many stages of internet forums. Right now, the forum kind of lost its meaning. It kind of died a natural death, if you will. Students felt that no longer they needed to use these forums to exchange information. Now we have e-learning platforms, teachers speaking to parents, etc. But the internet forums are most often opened or launched based on solutions off the shelf, which are very much vulnerable to hacking. IDG Poland and PC World Computer Magazine ran this research last year. They visited a number of school websites and public sites. A report was published on their own internet site. You can look it up. It turns out that pornography, pedophilia, child pornography, was something very much present on school forums, on church sites, because these were the forums that were attacked the most because they were not well guarded. The cyber criminals inserted their codes into these services, and we were by default redirected to these sites. So the service is okay, but it needs to be watched. One other thing is for these forums to be administered by the students themselves. They are very, very vigilant, and I have to tell you, I have a very positive experience in that. And one of the last things related to the functioning of such infrastructures in school, privacy, yes. Anonymousness, no. I can tell you briefly that it's very good when every single student has their web account, because we know who is responsible for that account, who has access to this account. This person is identifiable. On the one hand, and it's a win-win situation because the documents kept there are safe, but also we can trace the owner very easily. Anonymity is something which leads to loss of responsibility. A student during an IT class has different entitlements. For example, the entitlements he or she would have if he or she would work for the school newspaper. In terms of this is also related to the policy of password access. Computers function in such a way that they identify by the ID. Only then do we know who's using it. If we give access to our passport or the password or the parent's password to the child, to the student, that this account can be used for other purposes. The child should also know whether he or she is talking to the teacher or to the parent. So these types of contacts via the electronic book are also things that needs to be kept watch of. All systems that are installed in the school, regardless of what type they are, what infrastructure we choose, whether these are PCs or whether these are Macintosh computers or whether they're based on Linux operational system, we always can make a multi-level policy or structure and group policies that define upfront what the particular users are entitled to or not. And finally, monitoring. Monitoring should be systematically watched. Monitoring of content, of resources, of activity, not only of students. At the last conference, there was a problem voiced that on school servers, there was content stored which was indecent or illegal. Then it was the police who had to look into that, whether it was voluntarily or not. Done voluntarily or not. But very often it's a question of the negligence of the school IT or the headmaster, the principal. Sometimes even the admin's passwords that were revealed were not changed, that anybody can log on to such a computer and do anything with it, uploading films or whatever. These servers are most often on 24 hours 7 or 24/7. The openness of and transparency of the policy of internet security. These rules should be followed, and this whole awareness that any activity can be quickly traced eliminates any temptations to, for example, just playing a simple practical joke to your if consciously or not, whether consciously or not. New needs and new challenges, I'm not going to go into that because I know that my time's up. I don't think we will not have a Q&A, but I know that we're one presentation shorter, so I don't know whether you have asked yourself this question, but I have. Who is supposed to be doing all this? All of these things cannot be just dumped on the IT teacher, expecting him or her to professionally to provide professional services at the level of an IT engineer and at the same time be a teacher. So there are new challenges. First of all, we need to talk and make the superintendents aware that schools not only need computers, but need resources, need appropriate access to IT services in schools. That it's not the computers that are used, but the services offered by computers that are used. That there are resources for upgrading equipment, and perhaps they also need certain structures, grid-based type of structures that will ensure the appropriate level of security, that will ensure access to appropriate educational content, that will also provide access to the content and the services that the schools want to implement and want to carry out. This, of course, is then split into tasks for the school coordinator of a school IT structure. Trust me when I tell you that such an admin has more than enough to do, and it also should be part of the responsibility of the school management. And that's all. Sorry, this has been a little bit longish, but trust me, the structure of schools the IT structures of schools is so very complex that it will be difficult to touch upon all the elements, all the issues which are so very important for the educational process in our schools to be effective, safe, and state-of-the-art. Thank you very much.